Hi everyone, I'm sitting down here with Nick from the band Knuckle. How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So just to get things started, I'm gonna just ask a little question about how the band came together. Was it you that started the band, or did someone else come to you?
Yeah, actually I was the last current member to join the band.
Yeah.
Our other guitarist Kevin, he was like the only one in the band that knew all of us. He knew Joe from school, he knew John from going to shows, and I've been best friends with one of his cousins since like 3rd grade, so I've known him for a really long time. And I guess he just called me one day and he was saying, yeah, you know, trying to start this band. We've been jamming a little bit with a drummer and a singer, and he just wanted to know if I wanted to come jam with him, and I did, and that's pretty much it.
So like, how has the lineup evolved since you guys first came together? Were you playing different music, or did y'all just kind of like start with the pop punk and then continued with that?
Yeah, like I guess from the beginning, we all wanted to be in a pop punk band. I mean, it was a little different about 3 years ago when we started this band. Like, pop punk didn't have that like staple of being like, oh, like you're in a pop punk band. But like, yeah. I mean, I don't care. Like, we just write music that that we want to hear, and whether it's labeled as pop punk or not, it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. We just like to write fast, upbeat music, and I guess that's all there is to it.
So you started with a demo that a lot of people probably haven't heard unless you were in a couple years ago, and then you released "Don't Come Home" and then "The Way That You Buried." How has the reactions from people increased with each release? How is that like kind of?
Well, with the demo, we actually, I mean, the demo kind of like got our name out there that like we existed, but nobody really took us seriously because they were just shitty demos that we recorded like in my kitchen on a laptop. But I mean, like kids still seem to dig them. Like kids who really are like into going to shows, like people seem to like them. And then when we did "Don't Come Home," people kind of like it definitely got a positive reaction, but since it was only 3 songs and we kind of came out of nowhere, people were like, "This is cool, but is this a real band?" Like, it's like basically 2.5 songs. So I feel like people didn't really know. People couldn't really like gauge an appropriate an appropriate opinion on our band because we really didn't have any music out there. But it still kind of like established us as a band that like we're gonna be doing this from now on, and people started taking us a little more seriously after that. Yeah,
with "Don't Come Home," you actually did, you re-recorded, I think, 2 songs out of the 3 on the EP, correct?
Yeah, 2 of them.
Okay.
"Stuck" and "Woodwork." And then we did like another one of them here, but we don't really care about that song anymore. It's that wrong. But yeah, two of them were off of the demo.
Yeah. The
other 2 just kind of are gone.
Yeah, so then like with "The Way That You Buried," those are all like fresh songs then, and
yeah.
How has that reaction been since that's been released?
Great. I mean, I feel like that EP is like the release that people were like, okay, like this band is starting to actually put out music now, I'll pay attention to them. And so I guess just from releasing that, we kind of gained a little bit more like legitimacy as actually being a band, and yeah, and so it's been really good since then.
So then you also just went on tour with Neck Deep, and you released a split with them on a 7-inch. How did that come about?
Well, we were talking with our manager, and we were just saying how we want to have new music out for the tour, and we had been talking just amongst ourselves in Knuckle about doing a split with Neck Deep even before the tour even came about, just because we would interact with them on Twitter or whatever, and they were always kind of like very similar to us in like size and sound and just kind of how their band operates. So we talked about it amongst ourselves for a while, doing a split with them, and when we got the tour offer, we had our manager bring it up to Hopeless and bring it up to Neck Deep, and just talked about doing this split for the tour, like for for something for the tour, and they were cool with it, and we just wanted to put out a couple new songs, and the 2 songs Neck Deep had were from their album, which is cool. And yeah, it was just kind of was a spur of the moment thing. Just yeah, we sat on those songs for a while, so yeah.
So before we get into the Neck Deep tour, you also went on your first tour in the summer of, was it 2013?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like in comparison to the tour you just came off? Was it just like a cool experience, or were there actual moments in which, you know, they were similar?
It was, they were very different, but I think the way that I felt, they were very similar. Like, with the Seaway tour, it was all DIY, you know, pretty much Joe booked all the shows himself. So just going into that, we had no idea whether there was going to be 2 kids at the show or 20, and you know, most of them had between like 30 and 50 kids, if that, and so just that whole thing was all just kind of a new experience. We had never done a tour before, but as opposed to the Neck Deep tour, it was actually like legitimately booked, like by a booking agent, and like tickets were being sold, and so like we kind of knew how many tickets were sold for each show, and so we kind of knew that it was going to be like a successful tour just off of ticket sales. But we honestly had no idea that it was going to be as good as it was. But I mean, the Seaway tour was, I mean, at the time I was like blown away. I was like, holy shit, you know, there's these 3 kids up front here that are singing our songs and they've never seen us before. So I mean, it was the same effect on me, at least. So in that way it was similar, but they were, I mean, like you said, as from like a tour point of view, they were very different, because one was DIY and one was like pretty legit.
Yeah. With the tour, like playing in different cities and you know, traveling across the country, how would you compare that with playing your hometown?
In what way? You mean like crowd response?
Yeah, crowd response, and just in general, how is it different? And would you prefer playing, you know, in different states, or would you always prefer a hometown show?
Right now, I think I prefer playing in different states, just because there's still that kind of like, almost like a euphoria of like, holy shit, like I am so far from home, and these people actually like care to see us play. Where, I mean, like playing at home is awesome, don't get me wrong, like that first show of the tour at Subterranean was absolutely off the chain, and like I think the first moment where I was like, holy shit, was like when we got to California, like our first California show, and just people were just going absolutely crazy, and because it was just so, like, such an unfamiliar environment, I feel like that's why I prefer that, just because it's like everything is just so different. So I think that's why.